Number 10. Vanny killed Foxy. What if Vanny was actually the one to get rid of certain animatronics? Why? Well, it could be because she's looking for the perfect host for her master, Glitchtrap, aka William Afton's new body. Some have theorized that William Afton will be returning not in human form, but in the much more indestructible and immortal form of an animatronic. Indestructible. Perhaps Foxy is involved in this process, or perhaps Vanny has taken and harvested Foxy for spare parts to build a new and improved form for her master. I kinda hope it's like a new animatronic, because I think that would be really cool. Number 9. Roxanne and Foxy team up. Some believe that Roxanne and Foxy are in cahoots, and it's actually through her appearance that we will get to see Foxy as well. What are Roxanne and Foxy up to is the question. Why do they need to team up? It could be that the animatronics are still competing to catch Gregory, and Foxy will show up to help Roxanne in her time of need. If this is true, do you think Roxanne will be more or less successful because of Foxy's help? Could Foxy perhaps not be willing to help Roxanne and be forced to team up with her under duress? Is it possible that Foxy is being held captive and this team up isn't something that they're really willing to do? Or could it just be that Foxy decided to take a back seat to let his friend Roxanne shine bright in the spotlight? Maybe that's why Foxy just like retired from the music career and was like, Roxanne, you got it, girl. Number 8. The competition. Alternatively, what if Roxanne actually got rid of Foxy? She could have started out as more of a background character at Freddy's Mega Pizzaplex, and perhaps it was due to jealousy that Foxy disappeared. Instead of it being a corporate decision, perhaps the Foxy animatronic just one day went missing, which prompted Roxanne to get a promotion. Oh, how convenient. This could very well mean that there is, or at least was, a Glamrock Foxy. Perhaps instead of seeing Glamrock Foxy whole in this game, we will only learn of what happened to him via the story in the game, and instead find his spare parts and remains, which Roxanne attempted to dispose of. I'm just saying, if you get to take a close look at Roxanne's area in the Pizzaplex, which I think we will get to do, maybe look out for any tufts of fur or like a bedazzled eye patch that could be hidden somewhere nearby. It was Roxanne. Roxanne murdered Foxy. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about Security Breach or more lists about Foxy, be sure to let us know in the comments below and hit that thumbs up. Every time you hit that thumbs up, it just means that we get closer to Security Breach. I can hear Steel Wool being like, it's almost coming out, hit like more. Number 7. Surprise Bonnie. Another theory is that Bonnie isn't actually left out of the game at all, it's just that they were simply not in the trailer. Instead of Bonnie being a character that we'll never see, they are simply a character who hasn't shown up yet but will eventually. Instead of Bonnie being a featured character, that might be an Easter egg or some kind of animatronic surprise that is waiting around the corner to meet us. Anyone see that bowling alley? That could be all the Bonnie we get, honestly. Although it is important to note, just because we haven't seen neither tail nor ears of Bonnie as an animatronic doesn't mean they aren't just lurking somewhere in the game behind the scenes. Perhaps they aren't in the main band, but instead are relegated to their own super secret attraction, or perhaps they're just chilling at the bowling alley and we just haven't seen them yet.
Okay, so a couple videos ago I suggested that thanks to the FNAF AR email dates, that Security Breach, if Vanny is supposed to be possessed, that it would have to come before FNAF 3, and while some of you are accepting and appreciative of that theory, many people I seemed, should I say, hesitant to accept my ideas and proposed that, quote, I actually do some research. So I did, and I'm here to say that I found it, baby. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is my FNAF theory, the missing link that proves the Security Breach timeline. Let's do it. Now just to go over things first, what was my original timeline proposed in that last theory? Well, it starts with FNAF 4 in 1983 that we see thanks to the TV in Crying Child's house. Then we see the 1985 part of Into the Pit, followed by FNAF 2 and Freddy Fazbear's grand reopening in 1987. FNAF 1 takes place after that in 1993, calculated by Matt Patton in his first theory video, as well as being confirmed by a Faz fact from FNAF AR. Then comes Into the Pit with the present day, at least the present day in the book, and I'm including Into the Pit because time travel would technically be required and Into the Pit is what introduces time travel. And then we run into FNAF AR. Now the FNAF AR emails have dates ranging the game from 2019 to 2021, which I'm guessing is dependent on when you are actually playing the game, since it's meant to be the present day. and since Security Breach is linked to special delivery via those emails and nests along with the other weird happenings, we can reasonably assume that Security Breach would come next. Then we have to fast forward 2 years and see FNAF 3 with the Fazbear Frights attraction and sister location happening simultaneously thanks to the secret sister location ending. And to end the current timeline, we have FNAF 6, Ultimate Custom Night, and VR happening one after each other. However, we only know that FNAF VR takes place at least 4 years after FNAF 6 thanks to the man in room 1280 from Bunny Call.
Number 6. Time Traveling Bonnie. What if Bonnie is in the game but giving away just how they showed up would ruin the story for the fans? I've long been wondering if the entirety of Security Breach actually does take place in the present day. After all, we do see a ball pit in the trailer, and fans who have also read the Fazbear Frights books know that the main mention of a ball pit in that series involved time travel. It was a time traveling ball pit. Is it possible that this ball pit could also allow us to time travel, but instead of going to the dingy and grimy Jeff's Pizza, it takes us back in time to another Freddy's location, perhaps even the same location we are in the present, but as it was originally back in the 80s. Is it possible that through time traveling to the past, we could see Bonnie featured in the game, perhaps even a newer version of Bonnie than we're used to seeing, although a newer version to us, but still a version from the past? Does that make sense? We could even still see Bonnie glam rocked out for all we know. Number 5. Glam Rock Bonnie. There are theories that Glam Rock Bonnie does exist, but simply has been cut out of the trailer. Why? Well, we don't really know. But perhaps it's because showing Glam Rock Bonnie would give too much away in terms of the gameplay or the story. It's possible that Glam Rock Bonnie is either directly operating as our ally, or perhaps is tucked away in an area of the game that to show us would basically ruin the whole thing. Glam Rock Bonnie could exist though, and perhaps could even have been temporarily taken out of service, which might even be why Montgomery Gator is there to begin with. With human bands, there are times when you might see a band with rotating bandmates as some get pulled into other projects. In this case, it could be because Bonnie is just glitching out, so maybe Bonnie's out for now but will be back? Number 4. Vanny is the new Bonnie. What if Bonnie is actually being replaced by another non-animatronic? Oh, Vanny. MatPat has theorized in the past that Security Breach will be a sort of passing of the torch to a new cast of characters, introducing both new humans and animatronics who could be allies or enemies, or even protagonists. If this is true, then it seems likely that Vanny could be the new Bonnie. After all, both are rabbits and both are antagonists. This would mean, however, sadly, no more Bonnie for us, as that role is already filled. Sad. Unless of course something even more sinister is going on when it comes to who might be taking over the role of everyone's favorite animatronic bunny bandmate. Number 3. Inspired by. What if we have this all backwards? What if instead of Foxy being modded into a Roxanne, Roxanne was actually the inspiration for Foxy? We all believe we know that this game takes place and that it is set more in the present day. But this could just be a red herring. After all, you can't ignore the extremely 80s theme of this game's aesthetic. What if Security Breach is actually set in the 1980s? Is it possible then that Roxanne could be the earlier incarnation of Foxy, the animatronic who actually inspired everyone's favorite fox? This timeline, after all, is pretty wonky for FNAF, and we know there wasn't a Foxy at Fredbear's. Is Freddy's Mega Pizzaplex then potentially a location that existed on the timeline between Fredbear's and Freddy's? Could it possibly have existed prior to Foxy's creation? I mean, it seems unlikely, but it could be possible. I'm just saying. Number 2. Bite of 87. The Bite of 87 is still a hot debate topic amongst FNAF fans. We don't really know who is behind it. Many have speculated, however, that Foxy makes a lot of sense as a prime suspect. 1. He's got super sharp teeth, which instantly makes him suspicious, and 2. He also seems to be off to the side when we see him in the first game, with his own Pirate's Cove kinda like out of order. Why is this? Could it be because Foxy was responsible for the Bite of 87? And if Security Breach is later in the timeline, is it possible that Foxy was taken out of the group, thrown away, and eliminated because he was the one behind the bite? Which would make sense. They'd be like, we don't want animatronics that bite people. We also don't want bunny animatronics because all the murders. Number 1. Foxy has left the chat. Of course, one of the most scary theories that I can think of for Foxy in regards to Security Breach is that my favorite animatronic will not be appearing there. Sure, there is definitely going to be Glamrock Chica, who I also love dearly, but Foxy is honestly my favorite animatronic, and I think Foxy is also a favorite animatronic for many other fans out there too. So this would definitely be a travesty were it to be true. The reality is we really haven't seen anything in the trailer to suggest that Foxy will most definitely be appearing. All in all, he's been pretty absent. And while Roxanne is cool, not having Foxy in this game would be completely depressing and horrifying as a fan. Only time will tell, however, and hopefully we will get at least a very small hint of Foxy somewhere, at least a little Easter egg, please. At the very least, I just want something on the same level as Bonnie Bowl, in case that's all we also get of Bonnie. I don't know what it would be for Foxy. I want what I really want is I want a place where you can polish hooks and buy hooks, but I don't know why I want that. It's not like a fun thing you would do at an arcade. It's just a weird thing that I associate with Foxy.
The most controversial point in this timeline being FNAF 3 taking place after Security Breach and AR, which a lot of people seem to have issues with. Obviously, there are some discrepancies that need to be made when talking about the FNAF timeline, since as Scott sees the story play out in his mind, previous moments may not align to a perfect fit, so information that is revealed later should be taken as a priority. Like MatPat stated in his most recent timeline video after Ultimate Custom Night's release. So they didn't find Springtrap until night 2 of FNAF 3 would have to be replaced with them discovering Springtrap sooner than we thought, but only releasing him later on while trying to test to make sure everything was working before opening Fazbear's Fright, so that he could then appear as a character in Special Delivery, maybe perhaps as a way to hype up the actual location. But there's another problem that I want to address, saying that we have seen a Spring Bonnie time travel before, like in Into the Pit, so time travel is not out of the question for this scenario. There also seem to be quite a few people who believe that FNAF 3 takes place in 2013, since we know that the FNAF 4 location closed thanks to Crying Child getting chomped.
Number 10. Be our guest. We are used to animatronics being more in a performance role when it comes to their presence at the various FNAF restaurants and properties, but what if instead they're in a more active role throughout the Mega Pizzaplex? This is a theory based on the fact that Bonnie doesn't actually appear as an active animatronic in the trailer, but does appear as a mascot of the bowling alley named Bonnie's Bowl. And it also comes from evidence of there being multiple new animatronics that seemingly aren't part of the main show cast. What if all these extra animatronics aren't performers but instead are programmed to help you in various interactions, serving guests and possibly making sure that they're having fun at the Pizzaplex even while not necessarily performing for them? That would likely create more problems for you attempting to evade them at night. 1980 something? Would this be scary? I don't know. I guess if you being misled dramatically is scary to you. I think that's a legitimate fear though for FNAF fans. After all, we think we have it all figured out, that we've followed the clues successfully, connected all the dots, and then it couldn't turn out to be wrong. Well, it's pretty embarrassing. And it's scary to be wrong and be embarrassed. However, that's why we should also consider the possibility that Security Breach doesn't actually take place in the modern day, like we've been led to believe, but instead takes place in the time it appears to be in from a visual standpoint, the 80s. If this is true, it means so many of the clues that we thought applied here don't, and could even mean that parts of the main plot we thought we knew were actually wrong. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more Security Breach theories as we count down the days till this game will be released, I'm thinking December, then be sure to let us know you love this list by giving it a thumbs up. Number 7. Friends at Last. Of course, being a big Foxy fan, you know I want this to happen. I want it to happen so bad. Perhaps Foxy is not featured in the trailer but is present in the game as an ally to us, which might explain their lack of appearance there. After all, we don't want to spoil it if animatronics can be our allies in the game, which has already kind of been hinted at perhaps with Montgomery Gator, and perhaps all the parts with Foxy in the game would make that way too obvious. It has been theorized before that some of the animatronics may provide a hiding spot for Gregory, allowing him to move around inside the animatronic and go undetected. Some think one or many of these animatronics could be helping you. What if one of them is Foxy? Foxy could be hiding behind the scenes or have his own special area that he's relegated to that we just haven't seen yet. And Foxy could very well be an animatronic that simply isn't chasing us, but is actually for reals this time, finally our friend. finally just coming to check in on us. Number 6. Love affair. A lot of people have noticed just how similar Roxanne and Foxy seem to look, which has many fans theorizing about if the pair could actually be related somehow. Granted, Foxy is a fox and Roxanne is a wolf, but they are similar enough that some think that Roxanne might actually be the reason for both Foxy and Bonnie's potential absence in Security Breach. This is because they believe that Roxanne is actually the child of Foxy and Bonnie, who are in love with each other. I mean, this is the internet and this is FNAF, so any relationship mashups could of course be possible and likely have been shipped somewhere out on the internet and have countless fans of them. I personally think if Roxanne is their offspring together, that it might actually make sense that they don't appear. I'm not sure how in love Foxy and Bonnie were or are, but in the technical sense, this makes sense. Roxanne may have actually been built from Bonnie and Foxy's spare parts, being their child in the sense that she was made from them, born of them, if you will. However, that would also mean that we definitely won't be seeing Foxy in this game, as the animatronic would have had to give up its own existence to give life to Roxanne. Number 5. The Foxy upgrade. Some fans believe that the other animatronics in the game can only run because they received what is referred to as a Foxy upgrade. After all, in FNAF 1 and even throughout the franchise, Foxy has really been the only animatronic that has been known for moving super quickly and simply just sprinting towards you. Some even believed that this was simply because Foxy was running to try and save you or check up on you, hence the urgency in their movement. But Scott Cawthon, of course, dismissed that theory. We were all like, Foxy's our friend, and Scott was like, not your friend, nope. Foxy's sprint mechanic makes them unique and also at times one of the most shocking and frightening animatronics to be jump scared by in-game. Imagine how much scarier Security Breach will be if all animatronics can run and sprint as fast as Foxy. And from the trailer, it looks like they'll be able to. Whether or not this is an upgrade from Foxy or elsewhere, it seems this is an ability that will be common. Number 4. Modded Foxy. What if Roxanne wasn't always Roxanne, but was instead Foxy but heavily modded? After all, initially when we were looking at silhouettes, we all thought that Roxanne was going to be Foxy, and the fact that Foxy is missing in the Security Breach lineup seems to suggest that Foxy might actually indeed just be Roxanne. Or rather, Roxanne is instead a super modded Foxy? But why? Well, this could be due to Freddy's just wanting to refresh with branding, or simply not liking the overall design of Foxy and wanting to change it because they felt it was too, I don't know, outdated? Me, I think pirates will always be cool, but perhaps not everybody at Fazbear Entertainment who works in branding and marketing shares my love of all things pirate forever. Yar. Number 3. Bonnie in Freddy and Friends. Bonnie is the main character advertised on the thumbnail for Freddy and Friends on Tour Episode 3. If you haven't seen these short, less than 2-minute cartoon episodes up on Steel Wool Studios' YouTube channel, then you need to go do that. They are repetitive and ridiculous, but they also have tons of clues for those eager FNAF fans who are awaiting Security Breach's release. Like me, like you. In episode 3, we get purple glitches that appear to resemble the Purple Man at first glance. However, the fact that these glitches seem to primarily happen around Bonnie, who also glitches out almost the entire time while communicating, or rather staring at Foxy, seems to indicate that Bonnie, who is notably absent from the trailer, could be the next host animatronic for William Afton, aka Glitchtrap.
So 30 years after 1983 would be 2013. However, the description for FNAF 3 states that, quote, 30 years after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed its doors, the events that took place there have become nothing more than a rumor and a childhood memory. Meaning that the establishment was indeed called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and to our understanding, that bite incident from FNAF 4 actually took place in Fredbear's Family Diner, thanks to the limited number of animatronics as well as them both being gold. While yes, other Freddy Fazbear's locations at this time were open, this incident did not occur at one. And this begs the question, does FNAF 3 rather take place in 2017, after the FNAF 2 location closes? Well, if we look back at that quote again, we know that that's not the case, since it says itself that, quote, the events that took place there have become nothing more than a rumor and a childhood memory, which couldn't be the case given that the FNAF 1 location that takes place in 1993 wouldn't be open if that's really what happened. If the 1987 location was the last one to close, it would make sense, but there being another Freddy Fazbear's open in 1993 means that the tragedies have not yet become a distant memory, especially since they're posting news clippings about the original incidents on the walls. And even if we didn't put them there, someone else is posting them on the wall as a prank. Sure, the hallucinations may be what causes them to change, but they're not the reason they're actually on the wall. We can still see the articles when we aren't hallucinating anyways, like in the first few nights. So why do I think that FNAF 3 has to take place after Security Breach? Because there seems to be a lot going on. Hell, what I'm saying now could even be pointing towards Security Breach taking place in the 80s if you look at it a certain way, since thanks to Montgomery Gator we have all the proof we need.
Number 2. Vanny is Vanessa. One of the most frightening moments for me amidst all the games so far is the one where Circus Baby reveals herself to be a traitor in the scooping room and ends up scooping you. That is some strong nightmare fuel, that whole moment. Likewise, I think one of the scariest things that will happen in this game will be when it is revealed that Vanessa, the security guard seemingly trying to help us escape, is actually Vanny, the person who has been chasing us as Gregory all along. Dun dun dun! The real question is, why the charade? Why the game? Is it that Vanny is a split persona of Vanessa's, and that Vanessa is actually trying to fight against this darker side of herself, whom she has less control over? Despite the fact that this theory is so popular, even if it does prove to be true, there could still be many surprises for us along the way involving this grand reveal. So if you think you've figured this one out, don't think that it's going to detract from the game, because I'm sure there's going to be some things that we didn't figure out even about this theory, if it's right. And it could still be wrong. Number 1. Gregory is Crying Child. Okay, so this one might be a little far out there for some of you, but I also believe that it could very well be true. Honestly, when I figured this one out, I had a little light bulb moment and I was like, could that be a thing? Why not? Anything's possible if you believe. It would take a lot of other theories though to be wrong, but I do think that some of these theories have been teased at by the game and clues we've been given in order to actually throw us off the scent of what's really going on here. That doesn't mean the clues won't still somehow be relevant at some point, but simply that we just don't have all the pieces of the puzzle just yet. So in other words, we're trying to put pieces in where maybe they don't really fit. If the game is set in the 80s like we suspect, it is possible that Crying Child could actually be Gregory. I know some fans think that the name for Crying Child was found in the logbook and that it is Evan, and others have theorized that Cece and Michael are actually one and the same, so Cece is Michael. But what if we're wrong about those theories and those names? What if Gregory is the victim that we know as Crying Child, and we're actually going to witness the beginning of this character's trauma? After all, another interesting indicator is that Toy Chica has no beak here, or well, Glamrock Chica has no beak here. What if this is actually the beginning of Toy Chica? What if Toy Chica wasn't actually made to be Glamrock Chica later on, but it was the other way around? What if Glamrock Chica becomes Toy Chica, and this is where the beak gets lost and then re-given? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are gonna think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think it could be true. And if it does turn out to be true, then hey, come back here and you can be like, you got it right, yay.
Take a look at the characters in the background of the Happiest Day minigame from FNAF 3, the ones in color at least. They have various different masks on that are each pretty much explained away thanks to the mediocre melodies introduced in FNAF 6. Pig Patch, Orville Elephant, and the Hippo guy. However, there are a couple outliers even with these other animatronics. The first one being the very first guy on this lineup who's wearing a green mask, which absolutely could be referring to Happy Frog, but that doesn't look like a freaking frog to me. Are you kidding? Frogs don't have those kind of faces. Even animatronic ones would not have a snout that goddamn long. A frog's face does not come out to here, people, okay? You know what does though? Alligators. And who do we see in Security Breach? A green alligator with a long snout. Who else do we see? A wolf who maybe seems to be the same color that Bonnie was, which as we learn is supposed to be blue despite looking purple. And what other mask do we see that doesn't have a mediocre melodies equivalent? A blue mask with a snout like a wolf would have. Interesting. So, are the two new main lineup animatronics actually present in the Happiest Day minigame? We can't say for certain after all because these are 8-bit, but it certainly makes a hell of a lot more sense now, right? Plus I don't care if it's a robotic frog or not, okay? No frog is going to have that freaking snout, okay? It's not gonna be out here, and it's not gonna be this thin, okay? That's an alligator. So there we have it, friends, the smoking gun that explains how Security Breach could take place before FNAF 3. Based on FNAF AR emails, the closing of FNAF 1's location, and the Happiest Day minigame, everyone who was telling me I was wrong in the comments can finally accept that it's a possibility. After all, it's just a theory. One of many that we have on the channel, so you should check out any of our other nearly 300 FNAF videos. Yeah. I can't believe that it's possible. I can't. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm probably gonna cry. Link's up in the top right corner. I don't know which one it is anymore because I was pointing at this one, but then I thought it was this one. I kept pointing at this one, and it turns out it was this. So it's one of these two. All right.
Number 10, the Roxy connection. Because everyone loves the animatronics in FNAF so much, it should come as no surprise that people even ship them together sometimes. What is shipping? Well, for those who don't know, shipping characters means that you are imagining what it would be like if they dated or were in a relationship. Relationship being the key word from where the term ship comes from. Some fans who ship Foxy and Bonnie together as a couple have even suggested that Roxy is their animatronic daughter. Of course, Foxy and Bonnie are both often referred to as being male animatronics, but they are also, well, animatronics, which means that you could combine pretty much any two animatronics together regardless of their gender identity or lack thereof, and create something new if you so wish. Perhaps Roxy was more literally even made from parts which came from both Bonnie and Foxy, which is how I'd imagine creating an animatronic's offspring would work in FNAF, although that does imply that Foxy and Bonnie may have even had to die for Roxy to live. Pretty dark. Number 9, Montgomery Gator is the new Bonnie. When it comes to who is who in terms of character replacements, this one might seem a little on the nose, but it's still important to note. Montgomery is obviously meant to be the new Bonnie in the games. This isn't just because Roxanne matches up more neatly with taking over Foxy's place, which a lot of people have referred to due to their similar appearance. It's also because of Montgomery versus Bonnie's place in the band as lead guitarist. It seems as though Montgomery is filling in that position in the band, but also in the games in general. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want some more security breach theories, perhaps regarding specific characters, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Montgomery is the old Bonnie. We're being led to believe that security breach takes place during present day, 2021 or 2020. But what if that just isn't true? What if security breach actually takes place during a different time period? The 80s style of the game cannot be ignored. But the question is this some future trend 80s style where retro is made new again? Or does part of, or potentially all of the game actually take place during the 80s and we've been led astray by the clues that we've gotten so far? Is this some kind of weird misdirect? And if it does take place in the 80s, is it possible that Montgomery was only a temporary replacement for Bonnie who later rejoined the group afterwards? Perhaps because something bad happened either to or with Montgomery that got him removed from the group and dismantled, something that perhaps that game will explore. Number 7, it's complicated. One theory fans have is that regardless of time travel being around or not, lore will get a heck of a lot more complex with this new installment of the franchise. After all, this seems like it will be the biggest game yet, so we are expecting a lot of twists and turns throughout it. There's also the fact that at this point the lore is already so complex, with 9 survival horror games already existing and involving a collection of mainstay characters. It seems as though every time we are ready to retire someone or end the story, there is another addition that comes along. Hopefully this game will learn from that and instead give us some kind of partial ending and new beginning so that it can stop being so confusing as to who is alive and who is dead for reals. So a lot of people that we think are alive or that we think are dead, and then later we're like, oh, actually they lived. Okay. Number 6, hide inside. Based on our experiences in Sister Location, the idea of this theory being true is all in all pretty terrifying. The idea here is of course that we as the player, acting as the protagonist in the game, are forced to, or for some reason choose to, move around the Mega Pizzaplex but inside an animatronic. Basically wearing an animatronic suit, which I guess must be a spring lock suit or some other wearable variation. After all, if this game does take place in the future or the present day, you'd think they might have updated that tech a little bit, considering, you know, the awful track record that spring lock suits have had in the history of Fazbear Entertainment and beyond that. The theory that we might be actually wearing a suit comes from stills and shots which feature the inside of what looks like to be Montgomery Gator's mouth, where the angle seems to imply that our view is from within the suit and not just, us looking through a mouth-shaped part of the decor in the Pizzaplex. Although that's another theory. Is it decor or is it a suit? You decide. Number 5. Obey. One theory when it comes to the Obey poster featuring Vanny is that Vanny is actually trying to urge Gregory to obey her, and that's what's happening in the poster and in the game. The game starts off with us playing as Gregory witnessing something really bad happening, perhaps Vanny killing someone. We go to run away, but Vanny urges us instead to come to her, and hence the chase begins. However, it is possible that Obey could pertain to Vanny's role in the game, in the sense that she is serving someone else and is being forced to obey their orders. It could symbolize that Vanny is the one who needs to be or will be obedient in the game in terms of her role as a follower of Glitchtrap, aka William Afton. Number 4. Return of Glitchtrap. This is something pretty much everyone thinks is going to happen. And I mean, if you don't think it's going to happen, please make your thoughts and reasoning known in the comments below. I would honestly love to hear from you. For the most part though, I think many of us are expecting Glitchtrap to show up in some form. This is because of the narrative from Help Wanted and his appearance there. It also seems like Vanny, his reluctant follower, will be making an appearance based on the trailer. So a lot of us are theorizing where there is a Vanny, there is a Glitchtrap, and that Vanny will be working for Glitchtrap in this game, and perhaps less reluctantly this time around. Number 3. Bonnie becomes Glitchtrap. We've all focused on the fact that Glitchtrap is looking for a human host just based on what seems to be implied with him needing or wanting Gregory for some yet unknown purpose. A lot of people assume that Glitchtrap will try to possess Gregory and use him as a host, but does this really make sense? After all, if you were going to take over anyone as an adult, would you really choose to become a child? I mean, being a child was cool and all, but children aren't really able to do as much as adults are because they don't have permission from either their parents or the government. There would be a lot that you couldn't do simply because you just weren't old enough yet, or even because you might not physically be capable of that yet. So why would Glitchtrap want Gregory for this purpose? It's more likely to me that Bonnie is actually the intended host, and Glitchtrap plans or perhaps has already moved into an animatronic and taken hold of it. The fact that Bonnie isn't seen in the trailer could mean that Bonnie is the one who will show up as the new main antagonist, fully possessed by Glitchtrap. And we'll get a big reveal of this, which is why Bonnie doesn't show up, so as not to ruin that big reveal. Number 2. Nightmare Bonnie? What if the hand at the end is actually Bonnie, or at least a version of Bonnie? Some have theorized that this could be William returning as either an endo version of Bonnie, or perhaps as Nightmare Bonnie, even more frightening. This would also make sense if this was the direction the game and story decided to go in, considering that before he retired, Scott Cawthon was working on Security Breach. Scott has always said the animatronic that scares him the most is Bonnie, so it would make sense that Bonnie would end up as one of the most scary characters that we have in this game, William Afton. Number 1. Bunnies are bad. One theory suggests that Bonnie might not appear at all in this game because Fazbear Entertainment's Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is actually part of a soft reboot of the entire franchise. So, why wasn't Bonnie invited to this party? Because Bonnie is a bunny. And considering that Springtrap was the one behind the murders with William Afton wearing that suit, causing the incidents that had the location shut down in the first place, and basically made them go bankrupt, it would make sense for them to feel that it might just be best to stay away from all the bunny animatronics in general, just to be safe and make everyone feel more at ease. However, that probably still won't end up working out so well for them, as we know that Vanny and Glitchtrap are likely going to be causing a bunch of mayhem still in this game, and they're also both bunny figures. Yikes.